And we go to West Asia, and large-scale US-led airstrikes have been carried out across Syria, targeting the Islamic State militant group. The strikes were confirmed by US Central Command and were conducted early on Saturday, US Eastern Time, as part of Operation Hawkeye Strike. However, military jets were seen being prepared and launched before multiple targets linked to ISIS were hit nationwide. The operation was launched in response to a deadly December the 13th attack in Palmyra, which killed 2 American soldiers and a civilian interpreter. No casualty details from Saturday's strikes have been released yet, and the Pentagon has declined to further comment, and the State Department has not responded. Joining us now is Adrian Calamel. He's a terrorism scholar and he joins us live from New York. Adrian, thank you very much for joining us. How serious is ISIS's current capabilities through Syria compared to its peak years?
Well, thank you for having me, Thomas. Good morning to you. That's a really interesting question. I'll dissect that a little bit. Where the attack was taken, in Palmyra, where the U.S. forces were killed, December 13th, I find it extremely odd that that's the first time that we decide to do joint operations with al-Shara, Jelani, as I like to call him. We do joint operations with his troops, and some of ours end up dead. Okay, so I find that very weird and something that just didn't smell right, because this was one of the areas that was really, ISIS had overrun it. If you remember, it's old Roman ruins, and there was a lot of concern about it. It was one of the early parts of the ISIS campaign, and this has been cleared for years and not have any problems. So I have some issues there with this. The other issue I have with this is I don't know whether Jelani, how many individuals are actually ISIS fighters within his ranks. I still, and much to the world's, the world wants to whitewash his past and look at him as being this individual who is, being welcomed in the world of nations, sanctions released, bounties removed, but he still has training camps in Libya of jihadists, and he still has them in Afghanistan. And for me, it was in 2020, 2021, he folded back into Al-Qaeda. And if you look at the original break between ISIS and Al-Qaeda, which is, it was AQI, Al-Qaeda in Iraq, which became ISIS, and Jelani's group, which was Jabhat al-Nusra, it wasn't over ideology. It was never about that. It was over management of the campaign and how to build a caliphate. And Jelani took the tactical retreat back to Idlib. And what I'm saying is when he took it back to Idlib to 2017, 2018, he didn't change a lot. The ideologies are, they are aligned. ISIS and AQ ideologies align. It was just a way to fight the battle, how to take it to the enemy. In this case, they viewed it as the Syrian government and the Iraqi government at the time.
Of course, Adrian, how might and what alternatives exist to prevent ISIS from regenerating without committing more ground forces here? And Syria's stability as a whole, if you could tell us a bit about it.
I really do think we need to reel it back a little bit as far as applauding Jelani, dropping all the sanctions, saying, you know what, he just wants to rebuild Syria. He wants to be inclusive. He recognizes the rich tapestry of religions, ethnicities of Syria, do a further vetting of that and say, is this really the person that we want to prop up and support? Because it has been seen in Soweto, it's been seen in other areas where there's been cleansing of different groups, whether they're Alawites, whether they're Christians, whether they're groups that are just not associated or were associated with the Assad regime just through protection, or they just don't align with the Al-Qaeda world vision. And saying this, the Islamist in Jelani, who was in jail in an American prison in Iraq, he has not changed. The man has not changed.
Mm-hmm. Do stay with us, Adrian, as we move on to our next story. And Kurdish fighters have fully withdrawn from Syria's Aleppo city after days of intense clashes with government forces. According to reports, the last fighters left the Kurdish neighborhood of Sheikh Maqsoud and Ashrafiyah under a ceasefire deal brokered through international mediation. The Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces say the agreement allowed the safe evacuation of civilians and fighters to northern and eastern Syria. Syrian security forces moved in soon after, placing the areas under full government control. The fighting has displaced more than 140,000 people and shut down key roads, factories and Aleppo's international airport. Both sides accuse each other of targeting civilians and public buildings. US envoy Tom Barak urged all parties to stop fighting, warning that continued violence threatens Syria's fragile transition after years of war. Adrian, is this ceasefire a genuine de-escalation in the fighting here after we've seen days of violence and over 140,000 people displaced?
Another great question, Thomas, and it may be de-escalation for the moment, but I think the Syrian forces led by Jelani, his ultimate goal is to make sure the SDF does not present and the Kurds do not present any challenge to his authority. So that, right now you can almost look at them as being the group that's standing up for minorities, and what I see is going to be a complete homogenization of Syria, and not in a good way. This may be de-escalation for a moment, but my big concern is that you have individuals like Tom Barak who already have a predetermined outcome in their mind that, Jelani's the guy to run Syria. He's been talking, Turkey is his sponsor. Barak is the ambassador to Turkey before he got the special envoy to Syria job. This is a neo-Ottoman project and an Islamist project led by Erdogan and, using Jelani. So, Barak, he's going to continue to put pressure on the SDF, and my fear is that the United States is going to continue to put pressure on the Kurdish population, the SDF, and especially the Kurds, who have always stood by the Americans both in Syria and Iraq.
Yes, Adrian Calamel, thank you very much for taking the time and joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on the programme.